Montero on rooftops. It's been a while since I've done a rant video here on the roof of my building, huh? So it's really, really foggy today, or smoggy, I should say, in Los Angeles, and the sun bounces off these smog particles in the sky. It's making it almost impossible for me to keep my eyes open. I feel like I'm squinting a lot. Bear with me. Trust me, I'm not asleep right now. My eyes are open. It's just really bright out here. Anyway, I wanted to come up here and do a rant on some things. For those of you who saw my social media post, you know that I got engaged this weekend. Thank you for all you guys for your congratulations to both myself and to Tiffany. It went off perfectly as planned. I was really nervous that I was going to screw it up or she was going to find out. She wasn't going to be surprised. I had this whole thing planned. We went to Catalina Island this weekend, but everything went off perfectly as planned. She was completely surprised. We had a great, great weekend. Okay, so a few things to talk about. And of course, I'm going to detail everything, you know, break down the fights and everything in this week's episode of The Neutral Corner, which I will record tomorrow night. But this week we had Deontay Wilder making more stupid comments. The guy seems to say something stupid every few months now. So I'll address those comments, give my opinions. Anthony Joshua Joseph Parker. The referee wasn't very good. The fight went to distance, and a lot of you are saying that that means AJ was exposed and now he's a bum. But also, he made comments after that fight that he's not going to leave the UK. He's going to stay over there. And a lot of people are going on social media saying that that means he's ducking Wilder, right? So I want to address that. But also, I wanted to get into a little bit more of the Canelo Alvarez situation, because I know you guys just can't get enough. But there was an article posted by Iain, who is a writer and a researcher for BloodyElbow.com. It's an MMA site. He's out of Glasgow, Scotland. And this guy knows his stuff when it comes to performance-enhancing drugs. He's not an expert, you know. He's not an expert. He doesn't claim to be one. But he researches this stuff a lot. He writes about it a lot. He's pretty up to speed on a lot of the anti-doping stuff and the performance-enhancing drug stuff. So he posted an article that I found pretty interesting, because he made several points all in one article that I've kind of been making a little bit here and there in recent videos I've done, and some rants and stuff like that, some radio spots. But for one, let's clear something up right now, okay? Canelo Alvarez, 2 positive tests for clenbuterol, February 17th and 20th. You guys know, you've heard about all this stuff. And a lot of people have made this big thing about how the tests 3 days apart, one had 0.6 nanograms of clenbuterol, one had 0.06 nanograms. So that's 10 times the amount. And what does this mean? Well, I'm not going to get into all the science of the excretion levels and all this stuff, and it falls within the range of what you'd expect from someone either who ate contaminated meat or was knowingly using it as a cheater, because it breaks down out of your body. So to me, it didn't look surprising, 10 times the level, 3 days apart. That's normally what happens. It gets out of your system, generally speaking, within about a week. But a lot of you have said that, well, that first one is outside the levels for contaminated meat, and he must have ate a whole damn cow to have that much clenbuterol in his system. Want to make this point. WADA itself said in a case of clenbuterol cases from the Beijing 2008 Olympics, and I'm quoting here, all of the values were below 1 nanogram and therefore in the range of potential meat contamination cases. That's just an excerpt of a piece that is cited in this article that Iain wrote, that I'm going to post a link to in this video. But basically, anything under 1 nanogram falls within the range of possible meat contamination. And by the way, Daniel Eichner, who is the head of the accredited lab that did the test February 17th and 20th and got the results, said the same thing, that both results fall within the meat contamination. So this isn't me defending Canelo. This isn't me saying it absolutely was meat contamination. That's why he tested hot. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I just want to clear up the misinformation that's out there on Twitter, that the first test result was way outside the range and the second one was within the range. No, they were both within the range. Anything under 1 nanogram or 1,000 picograms, some of you guys like to use picograms instead, falls within the range of possible contaminated meat. Okay, so we'll leave that one alone for now, but I want to talk about the hair sample testing, because this is a big one. Some experts in the field have gone on popular boxing podcasts and talked about just do the hair sample testing. that will take care of this whole thing, and we'll know exactly what was going on with Canelo. And a lot of you guys have asked me about it. I even bought into it a little bit. I've tweeted about it. Why doesn't Canelo do the hair sample testing? But people I've talked to who work at the anti-doping agencies, a couple of them, off the record, you know, we chat, and they've told me consistently, those tests are not reliable. And until WADA can get the science consistent with it and post a protocol for that type of testing, the anti-doping agencies will not mandate it as part of their programs. So Iain Kidd, in his piece here, which again I will post a link to, cites 2 different studies that have been done in recent years with hair sample testing, and the massively different results, the varying results that come back for people with different hair colors. One study, they took a sample of people and all gave them the same amount of clenbuterol, and they all ingested it the same way. And then they did hair sample testing on them. One 27-year-old female came back with 23 nanograms of clenbuterol in her hair after. Another participant, also a 27-year-old female, showed 161 nanograms of clenbuterol in her hair. They both took the exact same amount, but one had 7 times as much in her hair sample. Why? The women had different color hair. And there's other data in this study that supports that. And again, I will post a link to this study as well. Here's another study that is even makes it crazier, because they found varying amounts in different subjects with similar hair color. They did a test with a study with every subject having brown to dark brown hair. Now that's different but similar. And they found one person came back with 0.43 picograms of clenbuterol. Another person came back with 4.76 picograms of clenbuterol. They both classified their hair as brown. So that's a huge difference with people with the same hair color. So these tests are not reliable. And I know that's WADA's stance on them. We don't do the hair tests because they're not reliable. So you could have a guy like Canelo take the hair sample, test, and his results might come back completely different than Golovkin, than Daniel Jacobs. Different hair textures, different hair colors, and even people with the same hair colors, it comes back different. The science is still too unknown. There's too much gray area where we don't have the results coming back in a consistent manner where we can properly and ethically mandate hair sample tests for situations like this. So let's cut out all the nonsense you're hearing about hair sample testing, even if it comes from an expert in the field. Guys, one thing you have to take into consideration here, nobody's word when it comes to anti-doping, performance-enhancing drugs, no one's word should be taken as gospel. Not mine, I'm not an expert, not Iain Kidd's, he's not an expert, and even the people who are experts in the field. There are varying opinions and there's different knowledge bases. So there are enough studies where there is enough reasonable doubt when it comes to hair sample testing that we know it's not reliable. We know this right now. It would not hold up in the court of law with the variances that we have. So for all the big stink that was made about Canelo doing a hair sample test, that was pretty much a waste of everyone's time. And everyone got mad and talked about something that really didn't matter. So this is just one example of how this anti-doping thing, again, as I've said a billion times, it is a living, breathing entity. We're learning more and more as we go. And you guys got to understand, for all the experts we have, there are no experts. There is no one central authority that knows it all. And some of these guys who have a lot of experience in the field, go on these popular podcasts, guys who are scientists, guys who are experts, and they give an opinion, even those aren't always correct. So, you know, do your research. Don't just look at a meme or a tweet and say, oh, okay, this guy knows what's going on. Go, always ask the source. Ask people to cite sources. Some of you guys have criticized me and you said, well, the level that Canelo tested positive for is well out of range for meat contamination cases. And I've asked you straight up to post links where that you have proof of that. And you guys have said, okay, I'll do it. You never do. There are people who have made 3-hour-long chat videos about me making outrageous claims. They're not posting their links, okay? So always consider the source and always cite sources, all right? And I will post all the sources I'm talking about in the video description of this. So, okay. One more thing about Canelo, and I just put the WBC on blast today in a tweet. Canelo is rated number 2 by the WBC in the middleweight division. He is currently scheduled, and has been scheduled now for months, to fight for their middleweight title. Yet, he is not enrolled in the WBC's clean boxing program. Now, I know, I get it. He's doing volunteer VADA testing with Golovkin. But so what? You're supposed to be enrolled in that damn program if you are rated in the top 15 or scheduled to fight for their title. And he's not. So that is a massive inconsistency with the WBC, who has shown clear favoritism to Canelo Alvarez. Mauricio Sulaiman went on the record before an investigation was even like a week underway by Bob Bennett and the Nevada Commission. And he went on record and said, we know Canelo's clean. We know he didn't do anything dirty. How can you say that as the head of a sanctioning organization based in Mexico about Mexico's most popular fighter and the biggest moneymaker in the sport right now, and not think you're going to look like you're showing favoritism to the guy? So anyway, he's not in the WBC clean boxing program right now. And per the bylaws, right on the first page of their rules, he's supposed to be. They give, I think, 4 reasons why you should be enrolled in that program. 4 different criteria why you get enrolled in the program. And I think Canelo meets 3 of the 4. So why the hell isn't he in the program? It looks really, really bad. And I asked that question down on Twitter. Steve Kim's already quoted it to Mauricio Sulaiman himself. We'll see what they say. All right, enough of the Canelo thing. I'm sick of talking about that damn thing, but I know we're going to be talking more about it anyway. All right, Deontay Wilder's comments. So I guess he was doing some interview on some radio station or something, and he said that he wants a body, quote unquote. He wants to take a body by the time he's done with boxing, alluding to the fact, or the opinion, whatever, the desire that he wants to kill somebody in the ring before it's all said and done. Now, some people are outraged about this comment. Some people like it because it's going to spark controversy and get him some promotion. Okay. How do I feel about the comment? I think it's rather stupid, and I think it's actually pretty classless. But I've seen people on Twitter saying, oh, come on, guys. People I respect, people whose opinions I respect and their work I respect a lot, saying, guys, this isn't that big of a deal. Why are you outraged about this? Now, I'm not particularly outraged about the comment, but to say that it's no big deal, come on. Let's be honest. If Gennady Golovkin made a comment like that, if Sergey Kovalev made a comment like that, even if Canelo Alvarez made a comment like that, it would be front page news on SportsCenter. It would be on SportsCenter. Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman would be arguing about it. They'd be in trouble. Now, the WBC claims that they're going to do an investigation and possibly suspend Wilder or do some disciplinary action. I find that kind of hilarious because, again, Canelo Alvarez is rated number 2, and he's not in the WBC's clean boxing program, and they went above and beyond to defend the guy before any evidence, to or against, was out for Canelo in Bob Bennett's investigation with that computerall thing. They defended the guy on the record. You talk about gross inconsistencies here. The WBC disgusts me with that stuff. But I think some of the people's reactions to this is inconsistent. Go back to when Sergey Kovalev tweeted a picture of a kid wearing a t-shirt with a monkey on it, and he said Adonis Stevenson looks great. Now apparently Sergey Kovalev's side says that this was a retaliation or a response because Adonis Stevenson had said in an interview before that Sergey Kovalev looks like an ugly ape. There was no racial context to it. And there was outrage. There was outrage in the boxing community, right? And Andre Ward and Rock Nation went out of their way to punish Sergey Kovalev with that second rematch, the way all that business was done. There was outrage in the community. Deontay Wilder is talking about killing a man weeks after a man literally was killed by injuries suffered in the ring over in the UK, and no outrage. So there is some outrage, but I'm talking about from the same people who were reaming Sergey Kovalev. In fact, one reporter for Ring Magazine started ranting about the Sergey Kovalev being a racist thing to me, right to me, as we were sitting ringside at the Oscar Valdez Scott Quigg fight. He was bringing up Sergey Kovalev. I can't remember the context of the conversation, but he was bringing that up, saying Sergey Kovalev's a racist, just blankly saying that. Matter of fact, you know, like we absolutely know this for 100% fact that the dude's a racist, yet no outrage over Deontay Wilder's comments. Now, I find that to be hypocritical. But more than any of that, here's my problem with that comment. And I know I'm beating a dead horse here, and I've said this in other videos, but guys, Deontay Wilder has gone on record saying that the reason why he's not a household name, why he's not famous, why he's not beloved by boxing fans in America is because he's black. It's the only reason. It's because he's black. It's not because he says asinine things like this, that he wants to kill somebody in the ring before his career is over. It's not because he gets in hotel lobby brawls, well, him and his people, his family, his friends, assault a fighter that was on the undercard in front of that dude's wife and children. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's because he's black. That's where I have a problem. You can't play both sides of the field. Now, I know in today's politically correct, uber far left media world that we live in, and here I'm going to be called a far right conservative. I'm not. But guys, I live in Los Angeles. I work in media. I work in the entertainment industry. The far left does run this shit. And they will allow someone like Deontay Wilder to play both sides because they're the real prejudiced people. They're the real racists who lower expectations for certain people based on their demographics. I don't do that shit. I hold everyone accountable to the same damn standard. And you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't cry racism. You can't say, it's because I'm black, nobody likes me, and then say, I want to kill someone before my career is over. You don't get to do both of those. It doesn't work, okay? I'm not going to have the soft bigotry of lowered expectations for certain people because of their demographics. I'm going to hold everyone accountable to the same standard. And damn it, you know, if Gennady Golovkin made a comment like that. Gennady Golovkin, a week or so ago, made comments about Canelo cheating. He feels Canelo's cheating. And there were people, including Stephen A. Smith, people in the mainstream sports media, saying Golovkin shouldn't have opened his mouth. And now the fight's going to be postponed because of Golovkin. Never mind that Canelo screwed up. He's the one who failed the damn test. It's Golovkin's fault that the fight's getting pushed back. Stephen A. Smith said this on ESPN in front of millions of people. The hypocrisy, the double standards, I can't take it. Okay, all right. Anyway, let's talk about this AJ thing real quick. So after he beats Joseph Parker, he's asked by one of the guys at Sky Sports, will you go over to America to fight Deontay Wilder? Or just, do you want to go conquer America? I think that's what he said. I don't think Wilder is part of the question. Do you want to go over to America and conquer the United States? And he said, no. He said, people have been having to go from the UK, fans, for years. Fighters have been having to go over there and fight, but the fans have had to go over there, pay tons of money, thousands of dollars, to go to Las Vegas for a weekend. We're doing 80,000 in Cardiff, Wales. We're doing 90,000 in London. We don't need to go to America anymore. We're running boxing right now. And you know what? He's right. Anthony Joshua does not need to come to America. Now, would I like to see him come here? Because I could go see him fight and it'd be a lot easier. I wouldn't have to hop on a plane for a zillion hours. Yes, I'd love to be able to just drive to Las Vegas and see him fight Deontay Wilder there. And it very well might still go to Vegas, guys, because money talks. We'll talk more about that in the future. But I don't see anything wrong with Anthony Joshua's comments there. Nothing wrong at all. He is doing 80,000, 90,000, 70,000 a fight now. His last 3 fights, look at the crowds. Nobody else in the sport's doing that, not even Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is bringing in more money, but depending on how this whole thing goes down with Nevada, this whole Golovkin situation, he's going to be tainted, pun intended, for the rest of his career now. He screwed up, and he's going to be tainted now for the rest of his career. So who knows, 2 years, 3 years from now, if he's going to be the same moneymaker that he is right now. Anyway, I have nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong with AJ's comments. He absolutely could stay in the UK for the rest of his career if he wants to. Why wouldn't you? If he wants to come to America, if he wants to fight in Africa, in Nigeria, where some of his ancestors from, or fight in I don't know, Asia, in Australia, what the hell? If he wants to do that, cool. But he should be able to do it literally at his leisure, because he's the guy. He's the guy in the division now. Everyone comes to him. Now, I want to see him take top challenges. I want to see him fight the best. So maybe if he has to come to America to get the Wilder fight, if that's the only way it will work out, fine. But if Wilder thinks he's getting anywhere near 50-50 for that fight, especially if AJ's got to come here, he's smoking crack. We already know he's smoking weed, but he must be smoking crack if he thinks that. I will say this, the referee, I can't remember his first name, his last name is Corderone, did a terrible job in that Joseph Parker fight. Absolutely terrible job. Anytime the fighters got close, and they were on the inside, which was really Parker's only chance to do anything meaningful, the action was broken up. Now, I'll talk about this fight more in TNC this week. I'll give the details, but a lot of you were surprised that it went to distance, even though I told you the whole damn time it was going to go to distance. There was a chance of a possible late stoppage for Joshua, but I knew this was going to go rounds just because of styles. And I've gone on record saying this as well. Carlos Takam, he should have went to distance. That was a bullshit stoppage. AJ's last two fights should have went to distance. And I'll tell you something. He doesn't land that big uppercut on Vladimir Klitschko in the 11th round of that fight would have went to distance. And the only reason he landed the uppercut is because Klitschko was 41 years old and coming off a long layoff, and he was old and tired. So, quite possibly, certainly his last two fights, but almost his last three fights would have went to distance. And people act like this means AJ has been exposed. I don't think it means he's exposed. It just means he's not Superman. He's human. He's got a lot of flaws. And as he steps up the opposition, if you fight a guy like Klitschko or Parker, you're going to probably go to distance. Carlos Takam is a borderline top 10 heavyweight, but he's also kind of cute in there. He's defensive. He shells up. He slips and slides away from shots. He's a lot shorter. When you're a really tall heavyweight fighting a short heavyweight, and Parker is kind of almost short for the modern heavyweight division, if you're fighting a guy who's backing up, staying on the back foot, he's shorter than you, and he knows how to be defensively responsible, it's going to be awkward. The action's going to be awkward. You're not going to look good. It's going to be hard to look impressive at all and get a stoppage. We saw this several times when Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko fought shorter opponents. We saw it when Lennox Lewis fought shorter opponents, and they were criticized. Oh, they're boring. Oh, they can't get it done. They're so much bigger than this guy. They should be able to just blow him out and get him out of there. It doesn't always work that way, guys. Styles make fights. So calm the hell down. Let's see how Joshua looks against a guy who is his own height. Last time we saw that, he looked pretty damn good. Now I get it. Again, Klitschko, old, coming off a layoff, nowhere near his prime. The big right hand Klitschko landed in the 6th round that dropped Joshua landed right here. A prime Vladimir Klitschko lands that punch right here, and Joshua might still be down from it. So when I say a prime Vladimir Klitschko beats a prime Anthony Joshua, yeah, I'll bet my entire life savings on that. We already know that based on what we saw in that fight. But that's the previous era. We're in this era. Eventually, we're going to get Joshua and Wilder. And whether the fight happens here in Las Vegas, where Wilder will have the establishment commission behind him, or whether it happens over in the UK, where the ref will be favorable to Anthony Joshua. And for the record, Corderone was horrible, but some of the reffing in the Carlos Takam fight and some of the reffing in the Vladimir Klitschko fight was favorable to Anthony Joshua as well. When you go over there, you know that you're going to be fighting the ref and the crowd and the judges a little bit. And yeah, I did think the scores were a little too wide last night. I scored at 116-112 for Anthony Joshua. I don't really see how you could give Joseph Parker more than 4 rounds, though. He just wasn't doing enough consistently, guys. He wasn't moving forward enough. So I thought Joshua was a clear winner, but maybe you give 3 or 4 rounds to Parker, but some of those scores were a bit wide. So yeah, you go over to the UK, you're going to have to fight with the ref a little bit to get fair treatment. You're going to have to fight with the judges, and of course the crowd over there is going to, I mean, you got 80, 90,000 people screaming for AJ. Anytime you land something, even if he doesn't land, again, I go back to the Klitschko fight. A lot of those punches, Klitschko was slipping and sliding, and they were glancing blows. He was parrying and blocking most of them that he got credit for landing. I thought Klitschko was clearly ahead in that fight by the 11th round. But yeah, you're gonna go up against that when you face Joshua in the UK. I'm not saying I support that, guys, but it's like I've been saying with this Canelo situation. The A side, it's not just a boxing thing, it's a sports thing. The A side gets preferential treatment. That's just the way of the world. That's how it works. So whether these two guys fight in the UK or in Vegas, I think it's going to be a fascinating fight. And I'm going on record now, would not surprise me if we see a series of fights between the two. If we see 2 or 3 fights eventually between AJ and Deontay, on both sides of the pond. That's the kind of deal I see working out. All right, guys, watch out for TNC coming up this week, tomorrow night, and I'll see you at the fights.